Welcome to the Life Podcast with BFR, a space where we celebrate life, support families, and inspire our community to thrive. In today's episode, we're excited to introduce one of our BFR Academy mentors, Steve Hicks. Welcome, everybody, to another episode. I'm excited to have a different co-host today, but one that is no stranger to the podcast, Danielle Burleson. Hey, Danielle.
Hi.
Excited to have you in the studio today.
I'm glad to be here.
I think when we ended your podcast episode a couple months ago, we were like, we need to have you back for another full episode because it was just such a good conversation. And so I'm excited to have you in the co-host chair today.
Yeah, it's a little different seat, but I like it.
Yeah, you have to help me, ask the right questions and guide the conversation.
I'm really good at that, so that should help.
Danielle, I was thinking about it this week. We have such an incredible team, and what clients don't realize, I think a lot of times when they first walk into our building, they might be coming in with, they have a pressing need, whether that's diapers or formula, or they don't even know really what they need. And that might be in their mind, but what they actually get when they come in is they get a team of people behind them. Mm-hmm. And that's you, that's our front desk receptionist, but that's also our BFR Academy admins. I can't talk this morning. Admins.
It's still early.
All of our mentors. It's still early for us. And then on another layer, they also get all of our admin staff working behind the scenes.
Yes.
So we may not be, in the trenches with clients, but we're doing things in the back end so that you and your team can be in those trenches with the clients. And so it's just beautiful to watch you guys advocate for families, to sometimes go to bat for them. I mean, it's just beautiful. And I was just recently just really, really thinking about that and how incredible that is. And anything you want to say around that?
Yeah. And, I am in the director position, but by far these mentors carry such a load in the day in and the day out because they're the ones that are in the room every single day. Yes, my job is to oversee and to help direct and resource and step into those hard places, but our mentors are so incredible, and our clients truly do form relationships with them. And it's beautiful to see, when they're graduating, many of them just feel lost a little bit, like, okay, where do I go now? Mm-hmm. Where do I connect? And we work really hard as they're graduating to try to get them to bridge that gap, to try to connect them to community, because a lot of times they don't realize when they are coming to BFR, they think, like, as you said, they think they're coming for diapers, wipes, formula, but they really don't realize that they're missing community. Mm-hmm. And so there's a huge part of that our mentors play for them. And as you'll probably hear in some of Steve's story, there are situations too where they will come to church with you, or they want, to invite you to their child's first birthday party. And it's just really sweet. Mm-hmm. We truly do life with them. Yeah. And I said this in our earlier podcast. They're not just a number. Right. And so many of these places, especially those that are in very vulnerable situations, they're a number. And so the fact that they have a name, we know their child's name, we're advocating for them in so many ways is just really impactful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so speaking of our mentors, we have one of our amazing mentors here with us in the studio today. We have Steve Hicks with us. Hey, Steve.
Hey, good morning. How are y'all?
We're good. I'm so glad to have you. I know we just met recently, but as in this morning officially, but really thrilled to have you on the podcast. When I was talking with Danielle about doing this topic, I was like, who do you think we could bring on? And you were, at the top of the list. So welcome.
Must have been a very short list.
Well, I mean, our mentors that are men it is another short list.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
But what, we've been talking on our podcast this whole season about who we serve, what we do, and how we do it. And one thing that our community may not realize, unless you listen to Danielle's podcast and she briefly mentioned it, is that we serve dads in our program. And we have what we kind of coined 2 years ago, I think it was now, our Fatherhood initiative. And so we really wanted to have men who could come in and mentor these dads because they can talk more freely, I think, with another man. But it's really cool to see God bringing people like you to us, Steve. So tell us a little bit about you and how you came to BFR.
Yeah. So I'm a pastor here in the area. We're planting a church that's meeting in the Kingston community once a month right now. But we were attending services at our sending church, which is in Emerson. And so one Sunday morning, Pastor Chris had invited Kim to come speak, just to talk a little bit about what the BFR does. Basically what you just described, the clientele that they reach out to, what their purpose is and how they really build relationships and minister to those people. And so when I was sitting there listening, I'd lived in Cartersville at that time for about 6 years, and I knew that the BFR existed, but that was the extent of my knowledge. And so when Kim really just began to explain all that you guys do, what y'all really focus on, and what really connected to me was the fact that it was about relationships. It wasn't just about providing a service and then, sending somebody out the door. It was really connecting with people. And that is a huge avenue that just speaks to me, because I feel like just in life and certainly in ministry, the one thing that just stands out to me more than anything else is the word relationship. And I think that's evident when, Jesus gives the two greatest commands. It's love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. It's all about relationships, your relationship with God and your relationship with the people around you. And so just hearing that, I just thought it was really cool what you guys were doing. And she had mentioned specifically that there were male mentors, and that there was really a great need for male mentors at the time. And so as soon as she said that, I was like, that's something that I think I'd like to be a part of. And so we just began a conversation after she just presented that Sunday morning. And next thing you know, I'm taking training classes and signing all kinds of documents.
You signed your life away.
Yeah.
Did you know that when you came to be a part of it?
No, but it was definitely worth doing. It was a process worth going through, and I'm so excited and proud to be a part of all that the BFR stands for and what you guys are about.
That's awesome. I love how, sometimes we go out into the community, we do things, we never quite know why sometimes. And we've seen so many times when we've gone into a church or gone into a group to speak where God brings us a person or a couple people who come in and serve. And so it's beautiful to hear. That's how you came to us, came to BFR. So, now Fatherhood Initiative, we really started that really officially 2 years ago, but we've been serving dads in our program. I really meant to find this date, Danielle, and I forgot, but I think it was back in, I want to say 2011, 2010, somewhere around there, yeah. When the program kind of changed and shifted, and it was actually also when we changed our name from Women's, I think it was the Women's Pregnancy Center or Women's Crisis Center, we changed it to Bartow Family Resources because we started serving dads, and so we wanted a name that reflected that we were serving really the whole family. And so that really opened the door for even more dads to come in. And we've had, some men come in here and there throughout the years, but never anything very focused or specific. And, our previous director of our parenting program, that was really big on her heart and as well as on Kim's heart to really be focused in on our fatherhood program and what does that look like and, how do we do that? And then, of course, praying that God would bring us the men to help do that.
Yes.
And so that's really when it got started. But anything you want to speak into
that?
Yeah,
so
Danielle?
Before we had male mentors come in, we females were leading those conversations.
Yeah.
And of course, the Lord can use anything, but we did find that there's a big gap, obviously, between male and female. And then just a lot of ways that we could not speak into parenting from a fatherhood perspective. And so it definitely made it a little more difficult to truly invest in them in that way in their parent education. I mean, we did the best we could. We used the resources that we had, but there's just something about someone else being in that position that can speak around fatherhood from a male perspective, I'm sure. But it has definitely just grown over the years, and the depth that our men have and the commitment they have has definitely increased as well.
Yeah. So Steve, can you share with us a little bit about like what does that look like when you come in to serve and you meet with a dad? Can you give us a little bit of an inside scoop of what that space looks like?
Yeah. I mean, it's not to make it sound just unglorious or anything, but it's just a conversation. You know, the first time I meet somebody, it's just kind of just those general, hey, how are you? You know, just tell me a little bit about yourself, your story, you know, what's going on in life right now. So just things like that. And so, but once we kind of get that initial conversation out of the way, it's just like connecting with, I guess at first it would be kind of like an acquaintance, but then it's amazing how quickly those relationships really do go a lot deeper. And so I do call a lot of the guys that I get to meet through BFR and get to have conversations with and just hang out with for a little bit. You know, I do consider a lot of them friends. And so it's amazing just how much further those relationships go than you would think, and just coming in trying to quote unquote provide a service, you know? But yeah, it's a conversation. It's just connecting, just like you would with any other relationship that you have in your life. And so it's not to make it sound like it's not special, or, I mean, because they are, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's just a relationship, and it's a conversation you're having with somebody that you know and you care for.
Yeah. And I do need to interject here because there is something specific about Steve so he serves on Wednesdays from 2 to 5. And typically a mentor meets with one person at the top of each hour because that's how our schedule goes. Steve often has to flip-flop and see 2 per hour back to back because he forms relationships and they really want to meet with Steve. And so
it's popular. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes. I jokingly told Steve that he is culturally flexible. Isn't that the word? I think that's the term I used for Steve, because he really can just be anything to anyone in the moment. And many of our clients are coming in, especially, you know, they don't know he's a pastor, but, you know, especially in that kind of realm, they're coming in kind of guarded. And the fact that Steve can really be flexible in a lot of those spaces is very powerful for these men coming in that are really kind of standoffish to begin with. So,
well, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. So, I would say, just to speak into that I feel like just growing up, God provided me some really unique opportunities because my dad was in the Marine Corps. And so I moved around and I've experienced a lot of what this country has to offer. At one point in my life, I was living in the most diverse school system in the most diverse county in the state of California. And so, I mean, just being around people of all different backgrounds, cultures, religions, races, just everything. It wasn't anything different to me. It just was what it was growing up. But I can look back now and I can see how that has kind of allowed me to, and it shaped me to be able to do a lot of what God is calling me to do now. But thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
I can see that for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And how do you, like when somebody is maybe a little bit harder on the outside, how do you kind of break into that space with them of like, I mean, is it listening well? Is it just being more sensitive to maybe what they're going through? I mean, like, have you experienced that with somebody who's just really more hard on the outside, and how do you get into the heart?
Yeah. That's one of those things that is maybe kind of hard to quantify, hard to actually verbalize. But really what I like to do is, one of the things you said there was like listening well. Thankfully, I've been around some really amazing people, and I've been afforded so many opportunities and to be able to just learn a little bit more about people's needs and how to listen well and how to look for what those needs are and to be able to minister to those needs. And so God's been preparing me to do things like this for years before I even knew what the BFR was. But one of the things that I like to do is not in an interrogative sense, but I like to ask a lot of questions. Somebody once told me a long time ago that people love to talk about themselves. And like, I don't mean that in a negative way, but it is true. When you've got somebody and you're maybe it's awkward or you're just meeting them for the first time, people want to be able to share their story, whether they realize it at the time or not, they want to. And so I'll just ask a lot of questions. I'll start with just kind of real simple things, just, tell me a little bit about yourself. How long have you lived here? Just what do you do for what are your interests? Just things like that. Just to kind of break that ice. And I try not to be too pushy. I know sometimes there can be that pressure or that feeling of, I've got to do something. I've got to have a breakthrough, or I've really got to find that issue or that situation that they're just dealing with. And we put pressure on ourselves to do that. And so I try to be very intentional not to. I just let them share what they're comfortable sharing. And I will go as deep as they want to go. And if they don't want to go very deep, then I'm fine to just stay surface level for a little while, until I've earned their respect, I've earned their trust and the opportunity to be able to go deep. Because at the end of the day, we don't know what everybody goes through. We don't know everyone's unique personal stories. And so we don't know what hurts have been there. We don't know what trust issues have been developed or anything like that. And so I really let them drive how deep we go with the conversations. But I'm always kind of just asking questions. I've got some little things that I'll maybe kind of probe around with just to get a feel for where they're at or how deep they're willing to go. And so it's just something that I do, but it's kind of hard to actually really describe that process.
Well, I can use a little bit of a term to describe what Steve is talking about, because it's something that I actually just talked about this in our last training. It's something that's very important to us, that we have relational evangelism. It is not just they walk in the door, they're there for, they're in a hard circumstance, there for diapers, wipes, and formula. Hey, are you going to heaven or hell today? That is, but a lot of times, sometimes in our work, it can kind of feel that way. Like it's an agenda or a number or a stat to report. And I'm very big on our mentors practicing relational evangelism. And so that's exactly what Steve just described. It's giving time, trusting the Lord to work. You water those seeds, and every single time they come for an appointment, you're adding water to that seed and just trusting the Lord. And there's often times that clients come back even after they graduate to say, this is the only place that I was ever prayed for, or this is the only place that has ever that's happened at least 3 times in the past couple of months. This is the only place I've ever heard about God. Tell me how to walk through that. Tell me what that looks like. And those are powerful, but you have no idea that's going to happen at the time. You just be patient, you trust the process, and be relational.
That's so good. And Steve, you said a little while ago about it's not glorious, or you can't make it sound better than it is, but it's discipleship. Yeah. Was what you're describing. Yeah. It really is. Yeah. And that's one of our calls as believers, is to make disciples, right? Yes. And so that is glorious. May not feel like it in the moment sometimes, but I think it is. So it's so good.
We would like to take a moment to give a special thanks to our legacy corporate sponsor, Cabins for You. Thank you for your ongoing and steadfast support of Bartow Family Resources.
One of the things we want to talk about today is also the importance of, having a father figure in the home. And, we do talk about a lot, what does God say about family, and what is the structure that he kind of put into place. And unfortunately, we don't always get to see a dad and a mom in the home. And some stats that, I was looking at and pulling in preparation for this were just kind of staggering to me. But when a child does not have a father in the home, there's not a father present, 90% of homeless and runaway children in reports, they did not have a father in the home. Think about that for a second. That is almost all homeless runaway children did not have a dad in the home. 63% of youth suicides, they didn't have a dad in the home. High school dropout, 71%. It's staggering. And so and then on the flip side of that, when a dad is present in the home, they're 2 times more likely to go to college, 80% less likely to spend time in jail, and 75% less likely to experience teen pregnancy.
Wow. Those are big numbers.
Right. That last one right there speaks to what we do. 75% less likely to experience teen pregnancy. And so what we hope to do, one of the things we hope to do in this Fatherhood initiative, is that we can break some of these cycles. And so when we can encourage these dads to be in your kid's life,
Yeah.
even if you and mom aren't together, but to be in your kids' lives. I mean, speak to that, Steve, a little bit, and how you can come alongside these guys, encourage them, and help them be good dads.
Yeah, no. That's something that's really near and dear to my heart, and it has been since long before I even ever realized I would ever be doing what I'm doing now. Just men being there, being the leader of their families, and that may be a little controversial in some circles here, but no, I do believe that God has specifically designed a family unit, and each role. I mean, there is a specific role that each person has to carry, and it's designed to be working together, and not one person can fulfill all those roles, and so I do think that it is clear that you have a father and a mother, and they've got roles in the lives of not only their relationship, but the relationship that they have with their children and stuff. If God, gives them that blessing of being able to be parents, and so I think it is absolutely crucial and imperative to have both parents in the lives of children's. And I just think sometimes culture, we have this idea of fatherhood or this idea of being a man. And it is being a provider. It is being a protector. Like, it does include those things, but you can't be those things if you're not there. And so one of the things that I feel like maybe I get the opportunity to maybe just try to speak into is I just get to be an advocate for these guys. I get to, in the art of being manly here, I get to be a cheerleader for these dads, and just say, you know what, man, the fact that you're even here, like, shows that you care enough to at least be taking this step. You know what I mean? And that's more than what a lot of people would be willing to do, is to come to a center that is filled with mostly women, but I really just try to encourage them and to just speak into that. And, sometimes for those of us who were afforded the luxury and the blessing of being able to be in a home where both parents were present and both parents were, loved me. I knew my mom and dad loved me and cared for me. Like, sometimes we just take that for granted, and we don't understand, and we don't realize how big of a deal that really is. And so I have the opportunity to really just speak into that and encourage them and just support them in what they're doing. And so that's one of the things that I feel like I get to do, as far as speaking on the importance of fathers being in their kids' lives, is I just get to root for them. I get to cheer them on from the sidelines. And it's like, look, man, it's not going to be easy, but nothing worth fighting for is. And so, we kind of have that persona as guys. Like, we want to fight. We want to be the hero. We really do. And so just helping them to see that that's what the opportunity they have in front of them is to be that hero for their family, for their kids. And so, it's just great to be able to just come alongside them and just lift them up and just do what I can to encourage them. A lot of the times I can't completely change their situation. I can't come in and fix all their problems for them. But I'm an ear that's willing to listen. I'm somebody that at times can maybe speak into issues and give advice on things and whatnot, take that with a grain of salt. But it's a really cool, I guess, aspect of what we're doing, at least what I feel like we're doing with the male mentors, is just being as unmanly as it sounds, just being that cheerleader for these guys, and letting them just go to battle, and I'm just there to help support them.
That's so good.
It's just that image of, like, holding their arms up, Steve especially has had a couple scenarios where he's had some dads and some custody issues and things like that he's really had to help them navigate some really difficult, discouraging times. And I know that it has really lifted their arms to be able to come in and meet with Steve and feel like, okay, I've got my second wind. The commitment to the program is they have to come twice a month. And so if you think about it, we see clients Monday through Thursday from, we have early appointments at 9:15, but our last appointment of the day is 4:00. And so these men have to adjust their work schedules. They have to, figure out how to make it work around any kind of court cases they may have. I mean, all these details that they have to figure out while still providing for their children financially. And so it's a huge deal that they make this commitment and that they come in and they are willing to do the work to meet with a mentor.
Yeah. It speaks to that they see such good they see
Yes.
value in coming in and
Yes.
meeting with whether it's you, Steve, or another one of our mentors, and I think they feel that support that you give them, being their cheerleader in their corner, as you say,
Yes.
and we can't take that for granted because, you know, in a lot of our, like you were saying, Steve, not all of us have that privilege of growing up with a 2-parent home, a mom and a dad, and so a lot of our clients may not have experienced that. And so they don't really know what does a good dad look like. And so you can help be that example for them and to, like you said, cheer them on, which is so good.
We would like to take a moment to give a special thanks for our sustaining corporate sponsors: Conscious Bay, NIDA Financial, AAA Metalworks, and Genuine Parts Company. Thank you for your ongoing support.
So, Steve, this is just a great conversation. I mean, I love it. But I would love to know, what has personally impacted you in your time with us?
Yeah. Well, there have been a lot of things. I guess I've been serving as a mentor for a little over a year there now. But the personal impact to me is just, it's like I said kind of at the beginning of the episode, it's been a little bit surprising, I guess, just how close I have gotten with some of these guys, and even a little bit, like I said, just surprising. You know, I can remember, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with these or give any names just because I want to be able to, you know, keep everything confidential. But there have been opportunities where somebody that I've met with, and I didn't even realize that, you know, it was having the impact that it did have in their life until, you know, something happens in their life, like a loss, a tragedy. And all of a sudden my phone rings and I don't even have the number saved in my phone, and it's hello. And it's like, hey, you know, this is whoever. And so they felt comfortable enough with me to reach out during a crisis or a time of need, or to just share something. Sometimes they just need somebody to talk to, because for a lot of these guys, it just seems like there's just always something that's just coming at them, coming against them. And so, I mean, the personal impact to me, it's just been really cool to see how God can use what's going on in the BFR to go so much further than just that 30-minute or hour-long conversation once or twice a week, or once every other week or whatever. And so there are not a lot of opportunities sometimes in life where you really can see firsthand the impact that you're having, or the organization that you're a part of is having. You know, sometimes those moments like that are few and far between. And so, just on a personal level, to me, it's been very encouraging and uplifting, you know, for my time at the BFR, but just in my personal ministry altogether, to be able to see that, you know, someone somewhere is actually connecting and benefiting just from the time that we're being able to invest in their lives. And so it's just, on a personal note, it's really encouraging to see those stories. And it's just great. It's great to be able to feel like you're actually helping someone and making a difference in their lives. And, you know, there have been multiple times and opportunities where it's just kind of been things out of the blue like that. You know, somebody at one point, like, hey, I just got laid off. It was around Christmas time too. And like, that. It's just like, I don't know what to do. And so I just started contacting people that I knew in the community. It was like, hey, I got somebody who's driven, they're willing to work and do anything. They need a job now. And so to just be able to kind of walk with them through that and to just provide that encouragement and support. It's stories like that have been really cool. And just the everyday things too. And just, you know, one of our clients really enjoys gardening. And so I enjoy speaking with him about his garden every week, and I look forward to it. And it's just, I mean, it's just cool. It's just a great experience all the way around. It really is.
Yeah. That's so awesome.
Great, Steve.
I love that you took up for that client to help him find a job. I mean, that's...
And there's
cool.
often, and Steve, you probably noticed this too, like when clients come in situations like that, there's often times that because we have a long-standing name in our community, our name speaks volumes. And so when we make a phone call to someone, or if we are representing them in some way, shape, or form, it just holds a little more weight to it. But the beauty of that I've gotten to share with a couple of clients is that is what Jesus is for us, representation. and he stands in the gap for us. And so it's been a beautiful full picture for some of our clients that maybe don't know that and can't put words to that. But yeah, it's our male mentors are incredible. And speaking to the sacrifice, we talked about the men that have to, make time to take off work and all the things. Well, our guys they have a huge sacrifice of setting aside their schedule. Steve, I don't even know all the things you're doing outside of BFR. I know there's a lot, but it's a sacrifice for them to set aside, whether it's, a couple of hours once a week, because our male mentors do commit to once a week. They come in for a shift. Some of them are they live right around the roads or right around the corner. So they'll say, hey, I'm available throughout the day. So just let me know if I have somebody that, needs to come in. So our men really do sacrifice a lot to be able to come and speak into these fathers. Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. And I think we've had some cases where we had a mom would come in for her first appointment, and you would share, somehow would come up that, hey, the dad can come too. And they're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
And there's a place for him here too.
Yes.
And I think that speaks a lot to who we are and what we do, that we're not, we're about the whole family.
Yes.
And we want to see every single person in your family.
And when the dad leads, the family follows, and that's in all aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's super important that we invest in them.
That's good. So when this episode drops, Steve, it's going to be really close to Father's Day. So is there anything in general you want to speak to dads out there, give encouragement or anything, or maybe even a call to action of how they can support BFR in the work that we're doing?
Yeah. Just to speak to the dads out there, and I guess I kind of already touched on it a little bit. It is a battle. Fatherhood, being a husband, just going through life. It is a battle. And it is very challenging. It is very hard, and it is very difficult. But really, it's funny that you asked that question, because just the last, few days, really, I don't know where it came from or why it's been on my heart. But just this idea of fighting like a man, that phrase has just been in my head. Mm-hmm. And so if I could just say one thing to all the dads out there, I guess it would just be that phrase, just fight like a man. And we could spend a long time dissecting that and talking about all the different aspects. But at the end of the day, are you going to fight for your family? Are you going to fight for your kids? Like their life depends on it. Because, not to be too dramatic here, but it really does. And you can look at so many statistics in so many different areas and see how important a father figure is in anybody's life. And so I would just say, there's always going to be hard situations. There is always going to be something coming against you, something trying to occupy your time, something stressing you out. That's going to be there no matter what. So I would just encourage them to just do everything in their power to just fight as hard as they possibly can for their wives, for their children, and just never give up. And so for the guys that are feeling exhausted and worn out and tired because it happens, we all experience that. Find that source of strength and encouragement that you need. Obviously, I'm going to say that the Bible, that the Holy Spirit, a relationship with Jesus Christ, is really the true source of strength that we need and need to be drawing from. So that's first and foremost. But, do you have those other guys in your life that can share similar experiences, similar stories, so that when you are worn out, when you are tired, you don't feel like the weight of the world is just solely on your shoulders? Because we do that. We do that to ourselves.
Why is that, Steve? Why? I do notice that a lot. Sorry for running over on time, but you just sparked something in me. So why is it that men tend to think they can navigate it alone without other men? Why is that so common?
One, I don't know that I truly know the answer to that. Yeah. Two, I don't know that we have enough time and multiple podcasts to cover that.
Part two. That's part two.
Really, I would just say, we've kind of got this idea of what it is to be a man ingrained in us from a very early age. And it is not a popular thing to admit weakness, to admit that you're struggling, to not be in firm control of every situation in your life at all times. Like it's not a popular thing to be able to admit that, yeah, no, I don't have it all figured out. I don't know what I'm doing right now. I am exhausted. I am tired. I feel overwhelmed. I feel defeated. Like it's not popular to do that. And we get this idea, I think, you know, and I can only speak, I guess, from my personal experiences and the way I think through things. But, you know, we get this idea that like nobody wants to hear about that. Nobody, like, and I'm coming out of a season that has been actually really difficult, just in my life and my ministry personally. And so as I would kind of open up and share, I said this a few times to people, but it's like, you know, I'm about to be 36. Nobody wants to hear a 36-year-old man complaining, you know? Like we have these ideas of just like, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to be around that. It's not attractive, for our wives to see that we're struggling. Like we get these things just downloaded into our brains. And so they can be very, those thoughts can be very paralyzing. They can be very gripping. And so I think that's part of it. I think, you know, some guys just don't really know how to express that or how to ask for help, or some guys probably don't even realize that, you know what, I do need to speak to somebody because, again, it's just, I'm a man. I got it. I'll figure this out. Like, and so there's so many different reasons that we do try to just put the weight of everything on our shoulders. But I can only speak to why I do what I do, not necessarily what everybody else does. But I think it's good for us to have a community that we can speak into and we can receive from, and just hold each other accountable. Because I know if I've got another guy or another couple guys, like I'm going to be getting with them and they're going to be asking me, hey, how was your week? Well, how's this going on? Like, I'm going to be a little bit more intentional about how I handle things and what I do with my time. And so there's an accountability level, an accountability aspect to that I think is so crucial and important. And we don't have that a lot in life. And it's not a fun, popular thing to talk about, but we do need to be held accountable. And that's not a negative thing. I think accountability always has a negative stigmatism, just thrown at it. It's not. It's a great thing because all it does is it's another reason for me to step up and fight like a man, like I said.
Yeah, that could be another whole podcast.
Yeah, we'll have to bring you back.
It's a whole series of podcasts.
Yeah. Or maybe you should just start one and just start talking about that.
I don't know about that. I don't know about
Add
that.
it to the list.
Well, thank you so much for being here, for taking time out of your day. I know your family, you're busy. You have ministry, and there's so much other things you could be doing. But we just are so grateful that you choose to give your time to BFR and time this morning to speak with us about the importance of fatherhood and the importance of being in the home and fighting for your kids. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, if you enjoyed today's podcast, we encourage you to subscribe, like, and follow. We will be taking a short summer hiatus, so look back for more episodes in September. We'll catch you next time.